What's up, my dudes? It's Ansu, and today I'm here to talk to you about my favorite books of the quarter. So the first 3 months of 2020 I ended up reading 22 books, if I'm not wrong. So what I'm going to do in this video is talk about all the 22 books that I read, what star ratings I gave it, and my top 5 picks of the 3 months. Does that make sense? I think it does, so let's get into it. Starting off in January, I started off with The Demon King by Cinda Williams-Chima. I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. A Monster Cult by Patrick Ness and Siobhan Dode. I gave a 5 out of 5 stars. Red, White, and Royal Blue, I gave 5 out of 5. The Prince and the Dressmaker by Jen Wang, I gave a 5 out of 5. Heartstopper Volumes 1 and 2, I gave a 3.5 and 3 stars. Royals by Rachel Hawkins, I gave a 3 out of 5 stars. The Hand on the Wall by Maureen Johnson, I gave a 5 out of 5. The Exiled Queen by Cinda Williams-Chima, 4 out of 5. Josh and Hazel's Guide to Not Dating by Christina Lauren, I gave this a 4 out of 5. Finally, in the month of January, I read Her Royal Highness by Rachel Hawkins. I gave this a 4 out of 5. Moving on to February, I read My Favorite Half Night Stand by Christina Lauren. I gave this a 4 out of 5. The Grey Wolf Throne and The Crimson Crown by Cinda Williams-Chima, both of which I give 4 out of 5. Love and Other Words and The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren, which I gave 3 and 4 stars. That was the end of February. Moving on to March, I read Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare, 5 out of 5. The Last Magician and the Devil's Thief by Lisa Maxwell, and I gave it a 4 and 4.5 stars out of 5. The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle by Stuart Turton, I gave this a 4 stars out of 5. From Twinkle with Love by Sandy Manon, I gave this a 3.5. And finally, I read There's Something About Sweetie, and I gave this a 5 out of 5 stars. Those are all the books that I read in the first quarter of 2020. Now let's get into the books that were my favorite. By no means are these works perfection, but I genuinely adored how it was written for one aspect or the other, and that I thought I would just share it with you guys. It doesn't mean that it's perfect in every way whatsoever. It's not. It's just something I personally really enjoyed in the first quarter, so I'm just going to talk about those with you guys. Okay, first pick. Chain of Gold by Cassandra Clare. This is a kind of a no-brainer. I really enjoyed the story. We are in more of a historical period right after the Herondale's huge war thing that happened in the Infernal Devices, and we're following around their children. James and Lucy Herondale are the children of Will and Tessa, and they've grown up in this very loving environment with their family and friends. The demon attacks are like very minimum to none, like there are barely any demon attacks anymore, and everything is just so blissful until the Blackthorns and Carstairs move to the city. And Cordelia, our other main character, is also half Persian, and she is really good friends with Lucy, and they're set to be privatized later on into the series. And she has a infatuation, or she kind of adores and loves James. But James has eyes for someone else. At this point, we know it as Grace Blackthorn. But there are some evil things that's going on in this world already. And it's just so intense the way that it's written. Also, suddenly out of nowhere, there are a bunch of demon attacks that came out in broad daylight. Usually demon attacks happen at nighttime, and also it's more so towards regular people and not shadow hunters, and that's their job, to protect regular people, right? But for some reason these demon attacks were in broad daylight and they were attacking shadow hunters alone. So that was an interesting turn of events that happened. It hasn't happened in so long. People were not prepared, and there's a lot of chaos that ensues from that. And through all of these dark times, James, Cordelia, Lucy, and a bunch of others kind of team up to destroy the evil and everything. It's a really intense book. Really enjoyed it. The love story in here is pretty heartbreaking. I know it's going to destroy me for the rest of the books. It was really sad when I read it. It's not something that Cassandra Clare has done in the past, so it really broke my heart, and I'm like waiting to know what's going to happen to these lovely characters. And yeah, it was a great book. It's also the start of a new series, and if you have not read The Infernal Devices by Cassandra Clare, I would highly recommend you to read that. If you don't read anything else, it's actually fine, but if you read The Infernal Devices, only then will it make proper sense onto what is happening in this particular story. So I'll just give you that. Just read Infernal Devices if you can, and then read this one. I think you'll enjoy it more if you do it that way. Okay, moving on. This is actually a contemporary pick. Didn't know that I was going to do this, but I have chosen There's Something About Sweetie by Sandy Manon. Now, I was one of those people who thought I was not going to read any books by Sandy Manon because I knew it was going to be very Bollywood-like, and I probably wouldn't enjoy it that much because I've read one book in the past which really left a sour taste in my mouth. Didn't like it. Anyway, so I was like so set on the fact that I was never going to read a Sandy Manon book, and I have it on one of my favorites. So anyway, this one follows around Sweetie, who is actually from this little South Indian state called Kerala, which is where I'm from, and I have never related to a character so much. In like these mainstream books, they usually speak Hindi and not Malayalam, which was something great for me. It's something that never happened before, and I've read books since I was 11, and most of them were like very high mainstream books, and never had that before. So it was really interesting. Really enjoyed that aspect. That's probably why I really enjoyed this book. So you might not really enjoy it that much. But anyway, Sweetie is this character who is an athlete. She's a pro runner in her school. She's wonderful. But also she's fat. So her mother decides that she has to be thin to be worthy of anything else, to be worthy of love or anything at all. Her mom decides that she needs to be thin. We also have on the other side, I believe, Ashish Patel, if I'm not wrong. Ashish Patel is also an athlete. He's a basketball player. He's very, very fit. So what happens is Ashish's mom wants to do like an arranged marriage kind of a thing, and approaches Sweetie's mother and asks her for like letting them date each other. Sweetie's mom was like very adamant about it, and she said no, there's no way, because well, Sweetie's fat and I don't want that to happen. And obviously Sweetie was devastated when she heard this, because her mother, who's supposed to support her, decided to say this to Ashish's mom, and she was really disappointed. And she went behind her parents' back and contacted Ashish, brought him onto a running field, made him run, defeated him, and told him, I might look physically fat, but it doesn't mean that it's because I just eat a lot, I don't do any kind of exercise, and I'm lazy, whatever the reasons are. It's not that, I'm just fat, that's it. Ashish is really like swooped off his feet. So he really, really enjoys who Sweetie is as a person, and they end up secretly dating. Things go a little askew. What parents had to find out, right? So stuff like that. It's a cute novel. I really enjoyed how it played out towards the end. There's a lot of drama. If that's something that you're into, I think you'll really like it. But yeah, especially if you're from South India like I am, I think you will really relate to this character, and you're just like, oh man, I've never seen this before, so really liked it. Next up, I want to talk about The Hand on the Wall by Maureen Johnson. This one was the final book of the Truly Devious trilogy. It was a nicely wrapped up book. If you didn't know, let's get into it. So we have Ellingham Academy, which is a very new and popular school that is founded by Albert Ellingham. So soon after the school opens, Albert's wife and daughter goes missing, and he gets this note signed Truly Devious. And there's a whole mystery related to that. We know that Albert's wife ends up dying, and the daughter, we have no clue where she is, what happened to her. There's no whereabouts of her. All this happened in the 1920s, and along with that, there was also another murder of a student that goes to that school, and we don't know what the motive is for this particular character to die either. So right now, in the present day, we have Stevie Bell, who is this true crime addict, and she really wants to solve the murders of Ellingham Academy and just want to, you know, rest the case. So she applies to go to Ellingham Academy once it has reopened in the present day, and she gets in. So her whole like character arc is to solve this mystery, and once she gets to Ellingham Academy, there's more murders that occurs, and she has to solve those murders as well. It's like a very Sherlock Holmes kind of a vibe. I really enjoyed it. There's a good mystery in there, so I really did enjoy it. Moving on to my fourth pick, it's A Monster Called by Patrick Ness. This is actually quite a short book, so it's not gonna take you a long time to read it or anything. We have this young boy, he's about 8 years old, I think, and his mom is suffering through cancer, and she's getting weaker by the day. He has this recurring nightmare that keeps happening where the yew tree in his backyard is alive, and it keeps coming every single night and is telling him stories, and the yew tree demands this boy to tell him his truth. After 3 stories, the boy has to tell him the truth, and the boy is terrified of this specific truth. He doesn't want to say it, and we learn what that truth is later on. It's a really devastating book. We see how he has to deal with all the situations with his mother. His father is not very interested in his life, I guess, and his grandmother, his mom's mother, seems like she doesn't care too much. And all of these events are going on in his life, and it's just so heartbreaking. It was really heartbreaking, but I loved it. It was really well written. There are a few pictures in here too, if that's interesting to you. I don't know, but I really enjoyed this one. And the final book I want to get to is Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. Okay, so this one is insanely popular. I'm kind of adding to the hype, and I apologize. But we have Alex, who is the president's son. The president is a female this time around. He's very handsome, he's very charismatic, and he's like the perfect like front face for the White House, I guess. And on the other hand, we have the Prince of England, Henry, and what happens is that Alex and Henry basically hate each other for whatever reason, and they end up having this feud with each other where a wedding cake kind of gets destroyed because of Alex. And these two are forced into this friendship for media purposes, I guess, and they end up having this romance that kind of kindles between the two characters. It's really adorable. It's like a cute gay romance, and I really enjoyed it. Alex is a really funny character. I have mentioned this quite a few times on my channel, but I think he was just a very laugh out loud kind of a character, and I really did like that about him. If you're looking for a lighthearted but slightly heavy in a certain way kind of a book, you're really gonna enjoy this one. But yeah, those are all the books that I wanted to talk about. These are my top 5 picks for the first quarter. I hope you're all as safe as possible. I'll see you guys next time. Until then, I'll talk to you guys in the comments. Bye.